Hello friends, today you are going to learn Norma Lateralis. Norma Lateralis means study of the skull from lateral side. Now, which are the bones you can see on Norma Lateralis? So here there is a frontal bone. This one is a parietal bone. This one is a occipital bone. This is a temporal bone. This one is a sphenoidal bone, that is greater wing of the sphenoid. This one is a zygomatic bone, nasal bone, then maxilla and mandible. So these are the bones that you can see on Norma Lateralis. Now I will keep the mandible aside. We see the bony landmarks. So first of all, we see the temporal line. So this temporal line arises from the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. When it runs upwards, it separates into two parts. One is a superior temporal line and one other is an inferior temporal line. This superior temporal line on the posterior aspect is fade out. Whereas the inferior temporal line, when it goes posteriorly, it's continue as forwards and continue as a supramastoid crest. This one is a black line, that is a supramastoid crest. This part is known as supramastoid crest and continue with the posterior root of the zygoma. So this is about the temporal line. Then we see the zygomatic arch. So this zygomatic arch is formed by the temporal process of the zygomatic bone that's forming the anterior 1/3 part of the arch. But this posterior 2/3 part is formed by the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. Here there is a presence of the suture that is known as zygomatico-temporal suture. This zygomatic arch has upper border, lower border, outer surface and inner surface. The upper border nearer its anterior end, this point that is known as jugal point, whereas the posterior end of the arch that fuse with the squamous part of the temporal bone by the two roots, anterior root and posterior root. So see, this one is an anterior root and this one is posterior root. If we see the from below, so this one is a anterior root and this one is a posterior root. In between two, there is a presence of the articular fossa for the mandible, or it is known as mandibular fossa. Now at the side of the division, that is anterior root and posterior root, here there is a presence of the spine, tubercle, there is presence of the tubercle that is known as articular tubercle of the root of the zygoma. Then this one is a mandibular fossa nearer to the posterior end, near the external acoustic meatus. Here there is a presence of the projection that is known as postglenoid tubercle. Now we see the external acoustic meatus. This external acoustic meatus has a anterior margin, lower margin, posterior margin. So on the lower part of the posterior margin, lower margin and anterior margin, that is formed by the C-shaped part of the tympanic plate. Then the posterior superior margin, that is formed by the squamous temporal bone. Then here on the posterior superior part, there is a presence of the triangle that is known as suprameatal triangle. So above it is formed by the supramastoid crest. Anteriorly it is formed by the posterior superior margin of the external acoustic meatus, and posteriorly by vertical tangent line that is drawn from the posterior margin of the meatus like this way. So this one is a triangle. Deep to this triangle, that is a suprameatal triangle, there is a presence of the tympanic or mastoid antrum. Sometimes on the anteroinferior part, there is a presence of the spine, that is known as suprameatal spine. Now we see the mastoid part of the temporal bone. This one is a mastoid part of the temporal bone. So this mastoid part of the temporal bone anterosuperiorly continues with the squamous part of the temporal bone. Sometimes here there may be a presence of the suture, that is known as squamomastoid suture. This mastoid part on the posterior-superiorly is articulate with the posterior-inferior angle of the parietal bone and separated by the suture, that is known as parieto-mastoid suture. Posteriorly, it is articulate with the squamous part of the occipital bone separated by suture, that is known as occipito-mastoid suture. Now this both suture, that is parieto-mastoid suture and occipito-mastoid suture, are meet at the lateral end of the lambdoid suture, and this is a side that in infants represent as a posterolateral fontanelle, or it is known as a mastoid fontanelle, and this point is known as asterion, and this fontanelle is fused at the age of 12 months. Then after we see the mastoid process, there is a conical separate projection. Posteriorly, these black dots, that is present as a mastoid foramina, and anteriorly near the external acoustic meatus, here there is a presence of the fissure, that is known as tympanomastoid fissure. Now we see the fossa. Fossa, so this fossa is known as temporal fossa. Now the boundary of the temporal fossa, above it is represent as a superior temporal line, below on the outer aspect, that is the upper border of the zygomatic arch, and laterally by the infratemporal crest. This one is an infratemporal crest. I will show you from the inferior aspect. So this is the infratemporal crest of the greater wing of the sphenoid. Then anteriorly it is limited by the temporal surface of the zygomatic bone, then the frontal bone and the sphenoidal bone, and posteriorly it is limited by the inferior temporal line. So these are the boundary of the temporal fossa: above, below, anterior and the posterior. So this area is known as floor of the temporal fossa. Nearer to the anterior part of the fossa, here there is a meeting of the four bones that represent as a adseparate suture. So this one is a frontal bone, this one is a parietal bone, temporal bone and the sphenoidal bone. And this meeting of the four bones, here it is represent as a pterion, that represent in the infant as a anterolateral fontanelle or the sphenoidal fontanelle. Deep to the pterion, there is a presence of the middle meningeal vein, anterior division of the middle meningeal artery and stem of the lateral sulcus. Clinical importance of the pterion is, if there is a roadside accident, anterior division of middle meningeal artery may be ruptured, leading to clot formation between the skull bone and the dura mater. And the clot formation is compress the motor area of the brain and leading to the paralysis of the opposite side. Now we see the another fossa, that is the infratemporal fossa here. So this infratemporal fossa anteriorly it is bounded by the posterior surface of the maxilla. Then posteriorly here there is a presence of the styloid process. So posteriorly it is limited by the styloid process. Medially there is a medial pterygoid plate, lateral pterygoid plate and the pyramidal process of the palatine bone, and laterally by the ramus of the mandible. This one is a ramus of the mandible. So laterally it is bounded by the medial surface of the ramus of the mandible. So here there is a infratemporal fossa. So it means temporal fossa and infratemporal fossa. Both are communicate with each other through the gap that lies between the side of the skull and the zygomatic arch. Now the attachment. So on the superior temporal line, there is an attachment of the epicranial aponeurosis. Then after temporal fascia, on the upper above this temporal fascia attached to the superior temporal line and area between the superior and inferior temporal line. Below it is attached to the zygomatic arch. There is outer border and the inner border of the zygomatic arch. Then after temporalis muscles, it is the muscles of the mastications. It arises from the whole of boundary of the temporal fossa except the zygomatic posterior surface of the zygomatic bone. Then masseter muscles, that is again it is the muscles of mastications. It arises from the inner surface and the lower border of the zygomatic arch. Then here the articular tubercle of the root of the zygoma, that is for the lateral ligament of the temporomandibular joint. Then on the mastoid process from before backwards. So first is the sternocleidomastoid muscles, then the splenius capitis and the longissimus capitis. Here there is a origin of the all three muscles. Now structure passes to the foramina. From the mastoid foramina, there is a passage of the emissary vein which connect the posterior auricular vein with the inner side with the sigmoid sinus and the meningeal branch of the occipital artery. This tympanomastoid fissure is related with the auricular branch of the vagus nerve, and sometimes the minute foramina that lies on the posterior surface or the temporal surface of the zygomatic bone. Here I have done the red dot. Through this there is a passage of the zygomatical temporal nerve and the minute vessels. Thank you, students.